Hey guys, I'm here for another review, and today we're going to be reviewing part 2 of the eastrail 117 of the 177 trilogy with Split. Now, Split is actually the secret sequel to Unbreakable because, spoilers by me reviewing this movie, the big twist is that this was actually set in the universe of Unbreakable. Because there was a mid-credits scene in which, after the entire movie happened, a woman is in a diner says to herself, says to one of her friends, "You know, this reminds me of that other person that had a silly nickname too. What was his name again?" And then you see Bruce Willis from Unbreakable say, "It's Mr. Glass." And then Shyamalan later confirmed that he was going to work on a third movie that would cross over both films together with Glass. Now, at the time of me recording this, the reviews for Glass have come in, and it has gotten very split reviews. See? What I mean by that is the fact is that if you go on Rotten Tomatoes right now, it's got a 39 to 40% right now, which, yeah, a lot of people do. Some people think that the premise overstayed its welcome, while other people praise, the performances in the first half of the movie. But that is besides the point. I will make my own judgment when Glass ends up coming out on Friday. We're going to be talking about Split. Now, what's interesting about Split and Unbreakable is that even though they are technically superhero comic book related films, they don't play out like them. Unbreakable, when it plays out like a mystery. It plays out like a thriller. Split, on the other hand, plays out sort of like a horror film. And Shyamalan has stated that Glass is going to have a different style as well. Now, with Split, we should get into the plot. This follows James McAvoy playing Kevin Wendell Crumb. Now, Kevin has dissociative identity disorder, and he has 23 distinct personalities. We mainly see 3. I think one of them was Barry. I think that was the name of one of them. Let's just say the fact that he has a thing for, let's just say the fact that he's a very disturbed individual. And then there's Patricia, who is a very strict individual as well. And then there's Hedwig, who's supposed to be a 9-year-old boy. Now, one of the personalities, they ended up kidnapping 3 young girls. Now, based on what the other personalities are telling the girls, they're going to be sacrifices to what is going to be called his 24th personality, the Beast. Now, the reason why Kevin has all these different personalities is because when he was younger, his father left on a train, and he was left with his mother, who was very abusive towards him, and she also had OCD, and this later on caused him to have one of his personalities have OCD as well. I think that might have been Barry, but I don't know. Now, definitely what mainly shines in this movie is James McAvoy's, how he's able to very much seamlessly portray all of these different characters. Like, one scene he has to play like a 9-year-old boy, and the next he's got to play like a very disturbed man, and then the next minute he has to play this beast-like individual. And what's very interesting about the Beast is that he has the ability to climb walls like Spider-Man, but he can also be able to bend steel and is bulletproof. That's insane. And not only that, but they also have stated that supposedly people with DID, they can be able to have different things. Like in the movie, one of Kevin's personalities said that a girl was blind and she had DID, and 3 or 4 of her personalities had the ability to develop sight. Now that's actually very intriguing because, I don't know that many people with DID, but from the videos that I've seen, it's very intriguing because, this one person I remember in particular, they're British, but one of their personalities was American, and that was very interesting. Now, what else could I talk about Split? It definitely feels like this is supposed to be the birth of a supervillain. While Unbreakable was supposed to be the birth of a superhero, this is the birth of a villain. And eventually you know that they're going to have to coincide with one another in Glass later on, because, that makes sense, because, the whole twist of that movie is that this was set in the same universe as Unbreakable. And Shyamalan himself stated that it's just going to be these 3 movies together. But he states that if any ideas come in the future, maybe he'll make future installments, but I'm glad with what we got. I mean, I haven't seen Split, I haven't seen Glass, so I really don't know whether or not it's going to be a satisfying conclusion to this surprise trilogy. And I thought the girls themselves, I think they did a good job. And Dr. Lady, she was nice too. And I think an entire character was actually cut from the movie too. Like, there was a doctor character, she had a neighbor, and all of his scenes were cut because Shyamalan felt like they were unnecessary. Which, I mean, it is his movie. I mean, he can do whatever he wants with it. But this is I definitely say that it is worth watching just mainly for James McAvoy's performance, because he really does a good job of trying to portray so many different identities. And I also want to point out one little fact about that ended up happening during the making of the movie. When he was filming his scenes as the Beast, and when he was trying to portray all the scene in which all the personalities are trying to take over at once, he felt like they weren't doing a good job, so thinking that one of the doors was fake, he punched it, but it turns out it was a real door, and he punched it with full force, and he damaged his hand. He didn't tell anybody about the damaged hand, but you can actually see that in one of, when he's picking up those flowers, and when he's adjusting his glasses, you can actually see that his hand is swollen. So, this just goes to show the fact that, this just shows how dedicated James McAvoy can be to this movie, and how good he is. He's willing to ignore the injury just that way he can be able to finish the movie. And it was actually made on a relatively low budget too. While Unbreakable had a budget of around $75 million, this had a budget of $9 million, and it made over $200 million. Making it the most profitable film of 2016 by far. Because, you know, they ended up, probably the most profitable film of 2016-2017 because, you know, it made so much money based on this low production budget, which is very interesting. So, I mean, what's very interesting about, you know, even though we have three girls, we don't really get to know the backstory of one of the girls, Casey. As it turns out, her father died when she was very young of a heart attack, and she was left to take care of her abusive uncle. And the Beast's philosophy is that people who have never been through any physical trauma, they don't deserve to move on. But then he sees all the scars on Casey, and then he realized the fact that she is quote-unquote pure because she has been through a lot of stuff. So, yeah, this is essentially Split. Now, I actually thought until the Beast showed up that this is a really, really solid horror film. But then when he started doing all the Beast stuff, like climbing on the walls, you know, bending steel with his bare hands, it sort of put me off a little bit. But I still thought it was good, though. But just, I kind of felt like it didn't really mix well with everything that we've seen so far. But what can you do? It is Shyamalan. He can do whatever he wants because it is his movie. Sorry if I'm having a hard time to speak right now, but yeah, sometimes whenever I try and talk, I try to get the words. Sometimes I can be able to talk first, and then I come up with the words later, or the understanding behind them later, I mean, like what I'm doing now. But yeah, I actually think that Split is a very interesting movie. I think I would give it like an 8 out of 10, or a 7.5 maybe. I don't know for sure. Because it did spark some controversy over the portrayal of people who have DID. Obviously, people who have DID are not like this, probably from what I've been told, and from what I've read, they're not like this at all. But I still think that if you looked at it in the context of the movie, it works. But if you look at it in the context of real life, it doesn't work. And a lot of you, and I'm probably thinking about doing a review of Bohemian Rhapsody soon, and I bring this up because a lot of critics did not like the movie. And when Brian May responded to this, he pretty much said that the critics were basically reviewing the trailer instead of the movie. I have my own philosophy that they were obviously reviewing the movie that they wanted instead of the movie that they got. And the movie that we got was good. But I didn't expect it to win the Golden Globe for Best Picture for a drama category. But I do understand Rami Malek winning, but here were all the other contenders for that category. There was A Star is Born, Black Panther, Black Klansman. I'm pretty sure Quiet Place was actually one of those things. I don't know. And If Beale Street Could Talk, I think that might have been the name of the movie. I don't know. But yeah, but for some reason they didn't put Bohemian Rhapsody or Star Wars 1 in the musical category, or musical or comedy category, even though they are technically musicals, just not in the traditional sense. But you gotta hand it to it, even though I thought Star Wars 1 was the better movie, I kind of prefer Bohemian Rhapsody a little more because I have more of an attachment to Freddie Mercury and Queen and all those other guys. Wait a minute, what am I talking about? I'm going off topic. But that's besides the point. My point is that you should probably just try and ignore, and I bring that up again because a lot of people highlight the fact that the movie contains a lot of historical inaccuracies. But I think Rami Malek put this back, so it's like, when you're trying to put everything into a 2-hour movie, like, we're not trying to make a documentary. If you want to watch a documentary, go watch a documentary. But he says that for the sake of a movie, you have to move things around. Like, the Mike Myers character, who, Ray Foster, who the character he plays, he's the guy that pretty much turned Queen down and said, nobody's going to play Bohemian Rhapsody, no one's going to bang their heads to them in their cars with their friends. And that's exactly what happened in the opening of Wayne's World, in which Mike Myers was in that movie, as he was Wayne from Wayne's World. And he actually not only did that in the movie, but he also did that when he was actually younger as well. And not only that, but it was via Wayne's World that so many other people were introduced to Bohemian Rhapsody. So there's that. And a lot of people were very much ticked off by the portrayal of pretty much all those historical inaccuracies. But here's what you got to do. Don't worry about those historical inaccuracies. You can highlight them later, but try thinking about the movie that we have right now instead of the movie that you had. No. Review the movie that you have instead of the movie that you want. That's it. Same thing goes for Split. Like, don't worry about those so-called controversies or whatever. Review the movie as it is. Don't worry about how it's probably a terrible portrayal of people who have DID. I don't know, because I personally myself, I don't know anybody who has DID at all. So yeah, that's Split. I thought it was a good movie. I'm really looking forward to Glass still, even though the critics say that it's garbage. I don't care. You can never really trust critics because when when Rotten Tomatoes published their reviews for The Upside, it had like a 30-something%, but an 80% audience score, so you can never really trust the critics. Same thing goes with Bohemian Rhapsody. 62% critical score, 91 to 92% audience score. You can never really trust them. So, yeah. Expect a review of Glass coming up soon, possibly on opening day, or maybe the general weekend in which it comes out. I haven't figured out when I'm going to be seeing it, but when I do, I will film a review of it after I've seen it, and give you my general thoughts and impressions on it. So that's essentially the next review that I'm planning on doing, and in preparation for Star Wars Episode 9, and for Endgame coming out soon, I'm actually going to review every single Star Wars movie I'm going to review the main Star Wars movies, and I might cover the anthology films, but in the months leading up to Endgame, so January, February, March, April, so there's 20 Marvel movies, so I would have to cover at least 5 movies a month, so that's weird. And I'm probably going to start covering all the other Star Wars movies in February. Wait, no. I'm probably going to have to cover them in April because, Episode 1, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. That makes sense. Wait. Yeah, I'm just trying to give you a general idea about what I'm planning on doing throughout the year as far as reviews for older movies. I'll probably do some older ones dispersed in throughout, like, October. I might do, I'm planning on doing a thing in which I'll probably do reviews of a ton of old horror films, like the old Universal Monster movies, and you might see reviews of cult classics like Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. So, there's also that too. I got a lot of plans, don't know if I'm going to be able to go through with them, but forget it, man. I'll try and see if I can be able to do my best. So, yeah, expect my next review to be Glass, so until next time, stay gold.